Hey, Radu, nice to have you here in Bulgaria. I hope you feel fine. How do you find Bulgaria?
I honestly love it. Thank you for having me. Honestly, been enjoying it. It's like my third day here. And,
Great.
yeah, I'm less homesick than I was before I came.
Great. I like you. I know you for the last 10 years. I have known you and I have seen your development as an artist and everything. And I admire that you are a Romanian comedian who made it in the whole of Europe. And you now are situated in London and are doing stand-up comedy in English. How is it going for you?
I really enjoy it. It's going, it could always go better. It could definitely go shittier. I'm trying. I'm at that age when I'm learning to appreciate what I have. And I think I have enough.
Yeah, don't be shy. You're living the dream of a lot of us. I mean, we all made it to some degree in our own country.
Yeah.
But doing a comedy in the biggest and most famous comedy clubs in Europe, that's really a big step.
I do enjoy that part a lot, and it does feed my ego a lot. But I think if I would have stayed in Romania, I would have had my stomach fed more.
Maybe you should write your success on a piece of paper and your what you have done. I made it in the best comedy clubs in Europe. That sounds good, right? You'll feel better if you write it down and
I do, but also like I have been doing comedy for like 20 years, and I feel like every time I start trusting my comedy abilities, that's when it's sort of these people stop laughing.
Okay.
I think it's a weird job where you always need to be insecure to do a good job.
So you still feel a little bit insecure in your abilities 20 years later?
It's like the UK is a huge scene. There's always like people coming from behind. There's also there's a lot of competition. So it's like a healthy insecurity. I do think I'm gonna probably lose 5 years of my life because of it, but I think it's for my artistic development, it's a very healthy insecurity. I'm trying to hold on to it.
How would you feel if you're at the comedy club in London? And you perform, you're good, and then come 3 totally new guys who are really good. Would you feel good or bad because they're so good?
I go through the whole mixed emotions. If you break up with somebody and then you kind of miss them, it's the mixed emotions.
Cool. Cool.
Good.
So I wanted to talk to you about the differences between Romania, Europe, and Bulgaria. So you've done a lot of comedy in Romania.
Yeah.
Then you've done a lot of comedy in London and other parts of Europe.
Yeah, I think in Europe I've done probably like 2/3 or probably like 2/3 of Europe or like 3/4, like countries wise, not cities wise, but countries wise. I think.
Cool.
I think I've only missed like Belarus and San Marino and a few other weird ones.
How did you get the balls to do the first step that you needed to do?
So basically, when I left, I started planning leaving Romania something like in 2012, and like in 2012, I had been doing comedy in Romania for like 7-8 years, and all my peers were kind of involved in a project. That was sort of, you do stand-up, but then you have to do something else around, like, either TV, movie, writing, a YouTube channel, something. And then I wasn't really attracted to any of it. Like, I didn't really feel like I'm gonna give it my all in any of the projects that I was seeing in Romania. And then I kind of remembered, like, the reason I started stand-up comedy. I always wanted to do comedy, but the reason I started stand-up was because I saw like Seinfeld and I saw like the whole like American scene. So I felt like, well, I'm young, I need to go, and then I need to go there. I can't be looking through the window for the rest of my life, like just kind of being a comedian, but also being more of a fan of a comedy than a comedian.
Was it very difficult in the beginning?
Yeah. Horribly difficult. But it was also like it felt like it was such a like stupid decision that I kind of quite enjoyed it. It wasn't like I don't know. It's some pains are good, So I think it was in that sense it was horribly difficult, but it was all very, very pleasurable. And also like in the beginning, because I had like experience in Romania, so basically in the UK, and I started from like the the lowest of the low open mics. But I had already like 7, 8, 9 years of comedy experience, so it was I did kind of breeze through those first few stages.
Could you just translate some jokes and they work, or no jokes would work if you just translate them?
I think it took me like a month or 2 months to decide to not translate any jokes. Initially, I thought some of them would work, but then I found out it's kind of like translating a song. You're gonna miss something, and something in the translation from like a 3-minute bit, something isn't gonna be as good. Like either a cultural reference that people don't get, or maybe like a word it's funny in Romanian but not funny in English.
Did you find so many cultural differences? Because our generations, you're born in the 80s, in the mid 80s. I'm in the early 80s. Our generation is the first generation that actually tried to close the gap in the cultural gap between the different European countries, right?
Yeah.
So do you still think that people are still very, very different from one culture to the other?
I think that, like the cool factor, it's not that kind of changes a little bit. So if whatever's cool to talk about right now in Romania is still sort of at least a few weeks or months, or depending on the actual subject matter, but it is still a little behind of when you can talk it, when like a subject hits the mainstream. So right now in Romania we're getting a bit of we have like a party that's more left-leaning and more sort of Bernie Sandery, but then in America Bernie Sanders has been a thing since like 2014. So there are like little differences. And also like a huge thing is the fact that people see me differently. Like in the UK, I'm a different person. They see me as like a Russian, Eastern European. Like they sort of all of the references about Eastern Europe come from like the communist times. So they do see me different. So if I want to be like ironic and say and do like a irony-filled joke about like a fat lady, that irony just goes out the window because I'm Eastern European. They kind of just think, well, that guy is just picking on a fat lady. So it is like I that was the biggest adjustment, understanding that they do see me differently, to the point like I honestly don't talk about relationships on.
So
on
would
stage.
you say that West Europeans see everybody from this part of the world, Bulgarians, Romanians, Ukrainians, and Russians, the same and put us in the same label as?
Yeah, definitely. Like 100%, yeah. Even like the coolest hipsterish 20-year-old left-leaning woke transitioned 3 times back and forward. They still put Romanians and Russians in the same sort of bucket.
Will it be possible for us to escape that positioning or that understanding of the Western?
I think with time. I feel like it's been a thing for like other immigrant communities in the UK. Like Indians, they mostly came like in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and you can kind of it took them a long time, but now they had the Indian prime minister, so it takes a while. And then the more voices they hear, the more we're present, the more they sort of get us.
And
but we need to be loud about it.
How did you adapt to that cultural differences? How did you adapt to that view of you? Did you change your material to sound more like to have the cliches about Russian guys in your material?
I tried. I tried not to. I still had to address the accent. So like still every show I kind of have to do a little joke about my accent or do a little joke about the fact that I'm foreign. And then and then really trying and struggling, I would I would change the topic to whatever I want to talk about. But I always have to have that little joke, and then I always know that if I did like a 20-minute set of just Russian stereotypes, I would probably be on I would be on TV way more in the UK. And I see maybe like very cool Londonish. Maybe they're a bit jaded with stereotypes, but that's sort of like maybe like 5% of London, but like 95% of the rest of the UK, they would love a Romanian comedian that went on stage and made fun of Romania. they would think that, yes, it's funny because it's true, because I heard it from a friend. It's yeah, I feel like that's my that's the thing that I always have in the back of my head, is I know what you guys want me to do and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Before you went to the UK, you were in the United States and tried comedy there.
Yeah.
Was it even more different than the UK? I mean, in comparison to our region, you come from Romania.
Yeah.
Was UK and US relatively the same, or was it very, very different from each other? The culture and the people's expectations.
So it's like two answers. They are different. Like LA is more of I went to LA, so LA is more of a entertainment city.
Yeah.
So everybody there just kind of is a waiter trying to make it in the show business. And the atmosphere on the open mics scene, you can kind of tell there's a different desperation. Whereas in like London on the open mic scene, it's people with decent jobs that do this as a hobby and hope to kind of strike it big.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we should tell to the listeners that LA has one of the biggest comedy clubs in the world, one of the most famous ones. It's called the Comedy Store, and it has nothing to do with the British Comedy Store, but everybody who has ever opened a comedy club in the world has looked up to that comedy store in LA, read some stories about it, and me personally, I have tried to do some of the things that I think that they do there, and they have done in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s. And I've always expected that the comedy club there would be something like a saints or something like I don't know how to express that.
I guess we like idealize it a bit in our head.
I have idealized it.
The fact that I've been there, kind of. It's still like a dingy place. Like I understand that when big comedians kind of say, "I love the bad smell," because it actually smells bad.
Really?
So once you smelt it, this is really like a shithole, and it's still like an owner that never shows up, and a bunch of desperate comedians for for like attention. But it is, the comedy, just the fact. I think it was the first ever comedy club with more than one room that I've ever seen in my life, and it felt like a mall of comedy, like a little Disneyland of comedy.
Cool, but there are some people who go there and who are not artists but just want to enjoy comedy, right? I mean,
yes, but not to. It's definitely to like a different extent. Somebody explained it to me in LA. Apparently, you're either making no money or like a shit ton of money. There's no middle ground. And then in the UK, because there are more real people with real jobs, there is a circuit where you can kind of survive and make money and be like a circuit comedian, and that's your job.
I see.
In the US, you're either on TV and have a following, or you're a waiter.
I see.
There's no middle ground.
And was the culture a lot different than European culture?
So I would say they would see me differently. Initially I went to LA and I spent like 2 summers there. So that was my first sort of encounter with like English speaking comedy. But I think they would see me different because Romania is so far away that they didn't really have any expectations. So I could kind of fill that void up with any personality I wanted.
then
And-
you can talk about imaginary things that happened in Romania.
Yeah. I can do
Romania,
Wakanda.
everybody is black there in Romania, and they would be
Yeah.
okay with that. Yeah, maybe.
Princes, and we have magic powers. And
Yeah, we have the Dracula and things. Yeah. Do you think that mythology connected to Romania is something that helps people appreciate you more, or because you have the Dracula?
yeah.
Is that the one
That's-
most famous thing?
I
about-
think it's the most famous one, but it's not like a positive stereotype. It's still kind of a dark stereotype.
But doesn't it make them interested in? Oh, you come from Romania, Transylvania. Tell me more about it.
Oh, honestly, I thought like I spoke to a lot of people that had no idea that Transylvania is a real place.
Really?
Yeah, they wouldn't know. But honestly, like even me as a kid, I remember watching a TV show on Cartoon Network from America. I don't know if you had it, the one with like the green vampire.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a green vampire that was a kid. It's basically like a kid Dracula,
Okay.
and everything was happening in Transylvania, and I never kind of made the connection that it's happening in Romania.
Aha.
Because you call it Transylvania, it's not really the same. They spelled it with a Y. They also have Pennsylvania. I felt like, no, that's probably nothing to do with us.
Really?
So it's a
So
book.
you gave
It's
up
not-
this cultural thing you gave it up to them, and
when I was a kid. But yeah, so that and so me as a Romanian, I didn't know Transylvania was a real place. That Americans know less that it's a real place.
Okay.
And then the book I think is maybe what was more popular in Europe. I have no idea.
But what do you use from your cultural heritage? What do you use from your background as a Romanian?
I kind of like when I was like in 2015. I know now everybody's attaching themselves to like either a disease or like a group of people. Like they're attaching themselves to like a minority, and trying to sort of still take us to to that minority and like be a spokesperson for that minority. But if you go back to 2014, that would have been the hackiest thing you could do as a comedian. It was more, be your own voice, be like a person. There was a whole Aziz Ansari and Kumail Nanjiani were kind of going, why do you always make me play like the stereotypical Indian? Can I just have like a regular just kind of like a love interest and like a romantic comedy role? So it was like a big talk in 2014, and I'm still stuck in that. And I still feel like 2014 we were more correct about the world than we are now. So it doesn't attract me at all to make a career out of stereotypes from Romania. It honestly doesn't, and I feel like it almost makes me a better comedian if I pushed through and if I managed to talk about like other random things and make a career that's not necessarily tied to my nationality.
I've always had this idea that with time, young people become more and more similar to other young people, to other parts of the world. And I thought that two comedians from different countries will be more similar to each other than two comedians from the same country but from totally different generations.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you think that has some truth in it, or?
I think that makes sense. Obviously depends on how close are the generations and how close are the countries. If the countries are neighboring and the generations are the closer the countries and the further away the generation, the more that's true. But still, probably like a young dude from America and then like a young dude from Pakistan.
Okay,
don't
that's
really have-
extreme. That's
Yeah.
extreme. Maybe I always envision our part of the world. So Bulgarians, Romanians, and
No, like what I feel now. It's not what I felt when I left the country, but now I feel like we grew up with a lot of American culture, and we kind of always aspired to it and admired it. But America had no idea about that. We were just like, well, if those people want to buy the movies, yeah, give them the movies as well. But they never thought about us.
so we learned to like them, but they didn't learn to like us.
Absolutely. Like within even more, they kind of learn to all their movies. If the villain isn't like an Arab dude, it's an Eastern European dude. Like my voice is more of the villainy in most movies in the West. And like weirdly, I remember being a kid and also kind of rooting against the Eastern European.
Yeah, me
Also
too.
kind of feel fuck that asshole.
Strange, yeah. So we rooted against us.
A little bit. Yeah, I think we were, I guess, some sort of a trauma from communism and some sort of a change that we wanted in our society.
And how do you see Bulgaria then? We talked about how we think that British and Americans see our part of the world, but how does a Romanian look to what do you see when you see Bulgaria as a country and Bulgarians as audience or fellow comedians?
I feel like I have almost the exact same like a healthy competition type situation. It's healthy or unhealthy, I have no idea. It's the same feeling I would have towards my classmate that my mom would ask what grade did he get. And that's, I feel like Bulgaria has always been throughout my life. It's always been, but how are the Bulgarians doing? We're doing well, but are the Bulgarians doing better? Because then we're doing bad. We're just the country that we compared ourselves with.
And what's the feeling? I mean, you a couple of times in your shows here, you said, I see this building.
Yeah.
It's a bad building, but it looks just a building that could be built in my country, and I could be in Bulgaria and Romania. It's very, very similar.
It's eerie similar. Yeah, it's crazy how similar it is. I don't think I've ever been to another country where I felt like the buildings were this close. I've never been to like Serbia or Ukraine, but I've been to Hungary. And there's a difference there, but I think there's no difference between the street, the buildings here and the ones in Romania.
And how come our nations are not cooperating more and learning the languages and tell stories about the neighbors?
We're obsessed with America.
Yeah,
we're obsessed with the West, and we don't have time to make friends with the neighbors.
Cool.
I think that's what's happening.
When I was a young kid, we didn't learn anything good about our neighbors.
Okay.
We always were taught at school. We were always taught bad things about Turkey.
Yeah.
Semi-bad things about Greece.
Okay.
We were taught that we are masters of Macedonia.
Okay.
That we're bad brothers to Serbia.
Okay.
And absolutely nothing about Romania. Although today I told you that our national heroes, most of them, when they worked on liberating Bulgaria, a lot of them were situated in Romania and were crossing the border illegally to do some stuff in Bulgaria. But a part of that, we know nothing about Romania, nothing about your history, nothing about your culture. And when I came for the first time in Romania, I saw that the people's faces are the most similar to Bulgarian faces I have ever seen in my life. Because we say we are Slavic people, but we don't look that similar to Russians, that similar to Polish guys.
Yeah.
But we sure looks very similar to Romanians. And I was thinking about these similarities between Bulgaria and Romania, and how come we never come in touch with
I don't think it's like accidental. I think our countries have always had like a owner from like another big country, like either the Ottoman Empire or Russia, but we always had like an owner. that had nothing to gain in us being friends.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the divide and conquer. So I guess like everything we got taught in school and stuff, just don't make friends with the Bulgarians, because then the Russians are going to feel threatened.
I see.
I think it might be a situation like that. Like, which obviously you're right. If Bulgaria did get independence from Turkey with help from Romania, so the big powers are never. They don't have an interest in us being friends.
Mm-hmm. Today you told me that you have a stereotype about Bulgarians
Yeah,
that were like cucumbers.
yeah.
That was very strange to me because I have never heard it in my life.
To be fair, I don't remember if it's like cucumber eaters or cucumber growers, but that's the derogatory. I don't know what you do with the cucumbers. Cucumber fuckers, I don't know.
Neither of them sounds so flattering, I would say.
Maybe because we have the Bulgarian salad and that has cucumbers.
Okay.
I have no idea where that comes from. I've heard it a few times, but again, we don't really. I don't think we've ever. My generation has ever like talked derogatory in a derogatory way towards Bulgaria, and even now with tourism kind of evolving, it's a lot of Romanians come here for holidays, so the culture are more and more Romanians kind of feel more and more comfortable in Bulgaria.
I heard that a lot of people cross the border to go to Ruse to eat some Bulgarian food and sushi. Actually, I heard a lot of people cross the border to go eat sushi in Bulgaria because it was very cheap. But our company's now opened a restaurant in Bucharest as well.
Okay. It is like Giurgiu, the city that's next to Russia, is kind of a shithole. It's like one of it's one of the shithole. It's also a problem because it's close to Bucharest. So generally, I don't know if you have the same here, but all of the cities that are close to Bucharest are kind of shitholes because everybody who kind of wants to study and everybody who wants to improve their lives just moves to Bucharest.
Yeah.
So in Giurgiu, you're just left with the leftover a few generations. But I remember coming to Russia last time when I was here, and I was so blown away by how nice it looked, and by the fact that there were like shrimps on the menu. I remember that particularly, and even like around the Black Sea, for some reason we don't have shrimps, and I think you guys have. Like
no, we don't have. I heard your joke, but we don't have. We only import, or maybe we have some, but not a lot of shrimps for
but
sure.
You definitely have some sort of seafood, some sort of a seafood farm.
Yeah, we have a lot of mussels.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we have here, and
okay, so maybe
it's delicious. You must try, but it comes in summer mostly.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I was really interested to find some of those cultural differences between all of the countries you have traveled to, because you're traveling a lot.
Yeah.
And every day when you go to a new country and you do your material, you try to find something typical for the culture, typical for the country, so that you can break the ice.
Yeah.
What are the cultural differences you have found so far that make you really think about it, not only for that one day there, but when you come back home and you think, wow, that's interesting about that?
Well, like definitely all the Mediterranean countries, they appreciate existing more. Like they really relax and they do the siesta and they nap, and that's been on my mind ever since I found that out. And every time I leave one of those countries, I feel like why am I leaving towards an unhappier life? Like it's sort of they put their day first, and then they put their sort of plans and anxiousness. And I feel like in both in the UK and Romania, people just kind of wake up. Okay, what do I have to do today? I'm not going to enjoy myself today. Today is for work, and I'm going to enjoy myself after I'm dead.
I thought that Bulgaria is more like the southern countries, but we don't have the siesta for sure.
Okay.
We don't have. Maybe we're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
the Bulgarians and Romanians, because I think Scandinavians and German-speaking countries are way more obsessed from work and from their.
I think that Scandinavia and Germany, they're like obsessed with law and order, and because
Yeah.
everything is sort of so well organized, you don't really have to work that much to have a good life. But I definitely, I think in Scandinavia people leave work at like 2 p.m. or something. They don't work as much as, but they are more. There's no big their politicians steal, but not to the extent ours do. So it's you can have a good life by just working 6 hours a day, which feels like it's enough.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
You said something about stealing. You have those stereotypes as well about Romania, because we have that stereotype here in Bulgaria that our politicians steal a lot, but you have it too.
I think, yeah, it's not even a stereotype. It's just people get into politics to steal as much as they can. We've had like there's all like a thing of with the justice system that's been on the news a lot in Romania. Sometimes they catch politicians, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they catch them. This is new. They catch them, but then by the time they get convicted, what they stole is like prescribes. Like every sort of, you can't convict somebody like 20 years after they stole something.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the constant is that all politicians steal, and there's like no shame to it. There's no, like, if they go to jail for a year, they come back, they go back into politics, they get another public. Like, there's nobody. It's normalized right now. It's not. There's no.
I don't think that any Bulgarian politician has gone to jail yet.
Okay.
That's why we always hear about you, how much better Romania is, because you put your politicians in jail and things like that.
We put a few in jail in like 2014, but eventually the politicians won. Like, we put a few in jail, but then it kind of came out that actually it was just the party in power that was just kind of being a bit aggressive with the opposition.
But aren't the same cliches in UK and in the rest of Europe as well? Even in the countries that we always say are the best countries in Europe, like Germany and France and UK.
I think so, but I think there's definitely degrees to it. Like in the UK, they're still living in feudalism times. They still have, you know.
What do I mean?
They're like in the 1500s. In the sense of how much their politicians steal, because they still have a king, they still have sort of the monarchy. They have like they have the two chambers in the parliament. So one of the chambers people vote, and the other chamber is the chamber of lords, which are basically just lords. And if a lord dies, the son inherits his seat in the chamber of lords. Mm-hmm. So that's feudalism.
And they find it okay. They find it cool.
They also have supplemented some of their needs with goods from all around the world. So they've never really the lack of productivity and the unfairness of how you divide the surplus isn't as noticeable, because there is a lot of surplus if you start stealing from Africa and India and so on. Now they're stealing less, and the English are getting a bit poorer and poorer. So I think that's England. And then France, it's a bit more. It's a bit. They killed a few leaders, so they killed a few kings, and the Marie Antoinette and whoever else they killed. So their leaders are more afraid of their of their people. And the French do protest more than the English, so you can see there's more of a balance there. But they're still sort of, the big companies are still kind of winning. And then in Germany, if you go to Germany, you can hardly find it feels like that's the most balanced country. That's sort of, I don't know, if, like all the companies there, they have the union, they have they have a vote in the board of directors. There's a different. Like a German dude explained this to me, just the fact that they have the political power in Berlin, and then the financial power in Frankfurt, and then the press somewhere else. it's at least not at least not the same people in power visiting the same saunas and kind of coagulating. It's still the different forces in the state at least are spread out around the country, and you can kind of tell. You can kind of tell that people like. I think the quality of life is the highest in Germany out of the three that I just mentioned, and out of the big powers of. It's definitely Germany that has the highest quality of life.
Cool. You talked so good about the southern countries,
Yeah.
and not so good about the northern, like the UK. Why did you choose to not leave it for a better country?
So I spoke
your
English, and when I moved to the UK, I had no idea there's like a little English-speaking circuit around Europe, and definitely there wasn't one as big as it is now. But I speak English, and then it's still that sort of the movie industry, and the little sort of greedy person in the back of my mind still feels like, no, stay a bit longer, you'll get a movie, you'll get millions, you don't need to have a high quality of life now. So I'm still kind of I'm young, so I'm still betting on the lower odds.
There is a very famous actor that you look just like him from Black Mirror, the new season, episode 1. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it. Is it Chris O'Dowd? I get a lot of Chris O'Dowd.
I don't know what the name was, but
okay, I'm looking at myself right now on the monitor, trying to decide who do I look like.
Just a second. Black Mirror episode about subscription. I'm sure you have got a lot of. Do you know this actor?
Yeah, it's Chris O'Dowd. I get that comment a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
You can definitely be his stunt double, for sure.
But just the fact that he's an actor and I'm more of a comedian. I'm not, but yeah, I know. Yeah, I get that. That's a lot. I don't know. It's hard. I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the cultural differences, but are there some cultural differences that you like, that you used in your material, you were proud of, or I don't know, you?
So I do have to do one or two stereotype jokes in the beginning of my set. So I always try to find some that put Romania in a good light.
Really?
Yeah. Because
you feel like I'm ambassador of Romania to the world.
I don't like doing when I go to Romania, I like shitting on Romania, but when I go to the UK, I don't think they understand it's a joke, so that's why I don't feel comfortable doing it.
I see.
Like I honestly don't. They already kind of think worse than it is. So that's why I don't do it. And I try to find a culture, like positive cultural differences. I can do like a joke. It's already on YouTube, but basically it's the what's the joke? Like in Eastern Europe, we have ugly buildings and beautiful people, and then in Western Europe they have amazing architecture.
Yeah.
Which I like because it is kind of true that even they kind of admit that we are prettier in Eastern Europe. And they also shit on our buildings, and we are proud of. We do like to go sightseeing in Western Europe, so I feel like it fits very well, and also I get to call them ugly.
Cool. Have you visited a country that changed your mind about it? You have one opinion of the country. You went, visited it, had a show there, maybe or not, and totally changed your opinion of the country.
I wouldn't say like fully, but every time I go, it adjusts a little bit. Like out of the countries that I changed my opinion for the worst is like Switzerland, definitely.
For the worst?
Yeah, definitely Switzerland.
How come?
It's way too overpriced. They don't really. All of their money comes from just banking, and they're just basically getting a commission from the rest of the world. And then because they're not in the EU, my phone never works there.
Oh,
so that's annoying.
So you had practical things.
For practical, and then they have like outlets which are very similar to the European outlets, but just like 2 millimeters shorter. So it
What does that mean?
like between the holes in the outlet.
Oh,
It's
really?
it's not exactly the same. It's literally like a few millimeters shorter.
So I cannot charge my phone with my Bulgarian.
You cannot. Or
Charger.
if you're angry as I am, I just I try all the outlets in my hotel room, and if I push hard enough, one of them works.
Oh my god!
But I don't want to. It really does. That's why I don't like Apple as well. I don't really like the wasting of for the sake of selling another cable. Let's make another form of a thing.
Yeah.
So that bothers me that they kind of just create an issue for no good reason. And then generally the hotels are kind of shittier.
You don't like Swiss
I honestly
Swiss
don't.
hotels.
I'm assuming if I go to like a 5-star hotel, but like whenever I go to like Eastern Europe, I live in like I stay in like the nicest hotels for like 40 quid. I go to Switzerland, it's like 100 quid for like a single bed, and the shittiest. I feel like a student.
How is the hotel here? You had a bad experience last night.
It was like, yeah, there was like an alarm that kept going on and off, and I don't understand how it for like 9 hours or something.
Sorry, man. We talked
Okay.
about that alarm, and he told me that he was like, okay, I will not complain because somebody should have already complained about that, and they will stop it. And they didn't stop it the whole night.
Yeah. Like even like 9 a.m. they still had it.
Uh-huh.
It was nuts. Like, but also it wasn't like it was loud enough that I felt like I'm trying to work on accepting things more. So I felt like if I would have been a better person, I would have slept better. but yeah, I slept fine, but I could have slept an extra 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Once we talked about last couple of days, we talked about the politics and humor that that people are so divided that it is not a good idea to divide them even more. Or what do you think about that division between people nowadays? Because I think people have never been so divided as nowadays.
And and sadly it's way easier to write comedy that divides than it is to. It's way easier to shit. You get. Let's say you get group A in your show. It's way easier to write jokes shitting on group B than it is to like shit on group A and kind of shine a different light on group B. So I feel like even the content right now is it's just easier to preach to the what's the expression, preaching to the choir. It's way easier than it is to preach to the unfaithfuls.
I've always thought that the job of the comedian is to make both sides, to laugh at both sides, not only on one of the sides. But maybe nowadays it comes more and more to that you can only joke to what people don't like, and you cannot joke to make jokes at what people like because they get offended so easily.
That is true, but also I think the problem is it's a comedy is there's definitely like way more comedians than there have ever been in the world. So that is the competition is very
and crowd pleasers.
And and the crowd pleasers are getting ahead, and then the industry that's basically there to make money, they're kind of promoting them even more. So it's a way more attractive career path to pick a group and then just help division than it is to help unity.
You know why I like you so much? Because you're from those people who know, who consciously take the choice to not only please the crowd, but to really express their own opinion about a given subject.
That's what I love and also hate about myself. I could have had a nicer life if I didn't have this little thing in my head that wants to do that.
What makes you keep it and continue in that regard?
I don't think I could do it any other way. I honestly don't think I don't think I do like a bit of a challenge, and like when I was a kid, everybody was upset with me all the time. So I do kind of enjoy it when I get 200 people upset with me. I get the laughter out of making them after making them upset, but I feel comfortable when people are upset with me.
So you're something like a rebel, or
I don't like the word rebel, but I do. Yeah, I feel comfortable being.
Because nowadays a lot of people are labeled as rebels because they do exactly what you want them to do, and that's exactly the opposite of a rebel, right?
Yeah.
And they're like this fuckboys rebel. What's that?
I just have a funky haircut that makes me a rebel.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a lot of that. There's this whole big brand, Rebel.
Yeah.
But it's like, honestly, I don't think if I don't like the joke that I'm saying, I can't deliver it well. And I'm more of a writer than I'm a performer, so I need to keep myself very interested to be able to. It's also the reason why I think I write more than the average comedian. But that's also because I get bored and I can't deliver the old material. If I've done it enough times, I can't do it again. So it's more of a necessity than me being a hero. But I like that I also get to appear as a hero sometimes.
What do you think about the European Union? Does it help comedy and does it help comedians work here?
It definitely helps. Like just makes it easier with crossing the border, and it's definitely a huge help for unifying Europe. And I'm a big fan of the European Union existing, and I'm a big fan of criticizing the European Union to constantly make it better, because it has to exist, but it can't without criticizing it. It's just going to be we're just creating a monster.
That's one thing, very strange idea, because almost everybody who criticizes it is like, it shouldn't exist because it's not working properly. And nobody says, let's try to make it work properly.
Yeah, I think
everybody like gives up on it because it has flaws.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I guess it's the nationalism, and it's sort of that rhetoric is being pushed, and I guess politicians are using it as well, because they want to buy a house.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But I'm a big fan. It's just also the fact that you can kind of use your phone. There's no roaming charges. That's a EU thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would have been. I remember leaving the country maybe like in 20. Yeah, first time I went to the UK. We met in the UK in 2014.
Yeah.
I didn't have internet. I would have to go to like McDonald's, connect to the internet, and then find out where I'm going.
Uh-huh.
So I would find my way around London from McDonald's to McDonald's.
Cool.
And now it's just internet works.
Yeah. About Bulgaria, what have you known before you came to Bulgaria? You're coming for the second time. What did you know about us, and where did you put us in the whole European thing? What did you know about Bulgaria before you come here?
So, in the European thing and NATO thing, as far as I know, we joined them together.
Together, yeah.
I knew about the euro because it's been in the news lately. Doesn't seem like a good idea, but let's wait it out. I don't want to criticize it or anything.
But where do you put us? Was it always given as a okay country or a shitty country or the same country as your country? What was said about Bulgaria?
Like as a kid, I went with my parents. I think we went to Greece maybe or Turkey. I don't remember, but we had to cross Bulgaria, and it was like a huge thing of you're going to get scammed, you're going to get killed, you're going to get.
Really?
Like we were very we were literally like afraid, to the point that it wasn't. We were a group of like 3 or 4 cars that were crossing together, and it was like up until we got from Greece to the Bulgarian border, we were kind of relaxed, and then we were all tensed for like 5 hours and a half.
Oh my god!
and then we got to the Romanian border. But I think that's also some truth to that, because they, like the police and so on, if they're gonna pick on somebody, they're gonna pick on a foreigner, and we have like foreign number plates. And then we kept hearing like some sort of horror stories. I don't know how many of them were true, how many of them were just invented, and I don't know how true that was also for Bulgarians coming to Romania. I don't know if they also got pulled over by the police and shaken down for everything they had.
Did that change through the years?
And now, definitely, I think with the all-inclusive, that was the big that was the big thing that made our countries friends. Like it's dangerous, but they give you as much food as you want, so fuck it.
Which is the most famous city of Bulgaria in your country? What's Varna? Or?
Definitely Sofia, and then the Bansko and the Golden Sands. I've never been to the Golden Sands, but yeah, that's I keep hearing about that.
You don't hear about Varna, for example?
I know of it from that time when we drove when I was a kid. I was something like 12 or 13, so I know of it from then. But that's it. I remember it was also like no GPS and stuff, so it was just navigating would be hard. And I remember reaching like an intersection with my parents, and they were like you just have to go by the road signs, and there was like a sign that said like straight ahead Varna, and then left Varna, and then right Varna, and then back Varna. What the fuck are we doing now? I don't know if it still exists. I don't know if I imagined it. I don't know if it was maybe just 3 cardinal points, but definitely we kept going Varna straight ahead, Varna straight ahead, Varna straight ahead, and then the big intersection, Varna ahead, back.
Cool. Well, it's the biggest city on the seaside, the biggest Bulgarian city on the seaside, and it's very close to Romania actually. And Golden Sands is very near Varna, but it's only for tourists. And Varna is the big city with people living in it, tourists as well, and things. Cool, good. Thank you for doing that podcast, and thank you about you were very honest. I can tell that you were very honest in every answer you gave me. I would ask you for one last question about a Bulgarian comedian who would love to make it in the whole of Europe or even United States. Do you think it's a good plan? Do you think it's
definitely
more and more possible or less and less possible?
I think it's more and more possible, and I think it's the time to get into it. I don't know if it's going to get easier or harder in the future, but definitely this is the time to kind of do it. And there is, just because it's the Europe, there's like this English comedy in a second language that's a proper sort of phenomenon right now. When 2014, there were like a few people doing it. Now I don't even know all the people that are doing it. So it's the time to get into it, I think.
So you believe in the future?
Not of the planet, but in the comedy industry, yeah.
Really?
I think so. Yeah. It's gonna. I don't think it's gonna keep growing constantly, but even a sort of a collapse helps it once in a while. It's always gonna survive. I think comedy is gonna survive.
That's what a good comedian would say. The bad thing is not so bad. Don't worry about it. And even a collapse will help for it. Okay. Thank you very much for this talk, and thank you about sharing your views. And maybe there was something you found out about Bulgaria now. You're coming here.
So yeah, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. I found out it's way closer to Romania than I ever thought, and I want to keep coming back. I honestly, it looks great. I didn't know about Plovdiv. I didn't know about the old ruins.
I saw some of the oldest cities in Europe, and we went to Plovdiv, Stara Zagora, and now in Sofia. These are actually 3 of the oldest cities in Europe, according to our information, our Bulgarian information.
I had no idea about that, but I heard it in English as well. And I'm sure that they are old. I don't know if yeah, I don't know. I'm not an archaeologist, but I'm sure they're old, and it's impressive. It is.
Cool.
It is impressive.
Cool.
And you do too much. You put too much mayo on food.
Oh, really? Do we?
Yeah.
We're not a healthy nation. Do you want to say that?
Well, put mayo on the side. Let me decide. Don't put it on the sushi.
Okay.
It's kind of gross mayo on the sushi.
Cool. Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for watching this. Write your comments down, and yeah, see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah.